My name is Daniel. I'm 43 years old, and 10 years ago, I buried my only son. At least, that's what I believed. I still remember that night like it just happened. The sound of the rain, the smell of cold hospital corridors, the feeling in my chest when the doctor shook his head and said, "I'm sorry." For 10 years, I lived with that pain. For 10 years, I visited a grave, spoke to a stone, and asked questions that never had answers. And then last month, my phone rang. Unknown number. Late at night. I almost didn't pick up. But something in me said, answer it. I pressed the green button. Hello? I said. Silence. Hello? Who is this? And then I heard a voice I never expected to hear again. A young male voice. Shaky. Confused. Dad. My heart stopped. My legs almost gave out. I looked at the screen again, and my hand started to shake so badly I almost dropped the phone. Because on the screen, under the unknown number, it showed a name saved long ago. My son, the same contact I refused to delete for 10 years. The same number that should have died with him. Who is this? I whispered. The boy breathed heavily on the other end. They told me you were dead. He said, Dad, are you really there? In that moment, the whole room started spinning. My heart was racing so fast, I could hear it in my ears. How old are you? I asked. I'm 10, he replied. They keep telling me not to ask questions. But I found this number in an old phone. I'm scared. 10. My son would have been 10. My knees hit the floor. I pressed the phone harder to my ear like I could somehow hold him through the signal. What is your name? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. There was a short silence. Lucas, he said. Lucas, my son's name. At that second, one thought burned through my mind, louder than the fear, louder than confusion, louder than anything else. If my son is alive, then whose body did I bury? And who lied to me for 10 years? To understand how shocking that call was, I have to go back to the worst day of my life. 10 years ago, I was not this broken, tired man. I was just Daniel, a new father, full of hope. My wife, Emily, had given birth to our son after a difficult pregnancy. Lucas was small, but he was strong. He had my dark hair and her green eyes. I still remember the first time I held him. He gripped my finger like he was afraid I would leave. I whispered, I'm not going anywhere, buddy. I promise. 3 days later, everything changed. Lucas had trouble breathing. The doctor said it was serious, but manageable. I believed them. I trusted them. I trusted all of them. That night, Emily's father, Robert, came to the hospital. He was a powerful man, rich, controlling. He never liked me. He always said his daughter deserved someone more ambitious. He stood in the corner of the hospital room, not looking at me, only at Emily. You should have come home years ago, he told her. But at least now we can fix this. I didn't understand what he meant by fix this. I thought he was just talking about paying for better doctors, better care. Later that night, a nurse came rushing in. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, there's been a complication. My heart dropped. I ran down the hall behind them as they moved Lucas in an incubator. Tubes, machines, beeping noises. They pushed me back at the ICU doors. Sir, you need to wait here. So I waited. Minutes turned into hours. Every time a door opened, my breath stopped. Around 3 a.m., a doctor came out. His eyes looked tired. He didn't need to say anything. I'm sorry. We did everything we could. My ears started ringing. The world turned cold and far away. I remember Emily screaming. I remember collapsing into a chair. I remember signing some papers I didn't even read. They said Lucas's body would be prepared. They said the hospital would handle everything. They said we could see him one last time, but Emily couldn't handle it. I went alone. He was wrapped, small, still. I touched his tiny hand, and it was cold. I kissed his forehead and promised I would never forget him. We had a closed casket. The hospital said it was better that way. For your peace, they said. So we buried the box. We cried. We went home. And just like that, I thought my son was gone. But now, 10 years later, hearing his voice on the phone, I realized something terrible. Someone had stolen my son. Someone had buried a lie. The years after the funeral were not kind to us. Emily changed. I changed. She blamed herself for everything. I blamed myself too. We stopped talking like husband and wife. We were just two strangers living in the same house, grieving in different corners. Sometimes I would wake up and hear her crying in the bathroom. Sometimes she would wake up and see me sitting on the floor of what should have been Lucas's room, holding his unused baby clothes. My friends tried to help. Time heals everything. They said. That was a lie. Time didn't heal anything. It just made the pain quieter, deeper, like a stone at the bottom of a lake. After 2 years, Emily left. I can't breathe in this house anymore, she said. I can't look at you, Daniel, and not see what we lost. I wanted to scream, we lost him together. But all I said was, okay. She packed a single suitcase and walked out. I later learned she moved closer to her father. Of course. Robert called me once. You're dragging my daughter down, he said. It's better this way. Let her move on, and you do whatever you want with your life. But how do you move on when your life was buried in a small box 10 years ago? I kept working. I started drinking more than I should have. I visited Lucas's grave on his birthday every year. I took small toys, small flowers. Happy birthday, buddy. I would whisper, I wonder what you'd look like now. Some nights, I would sit in my empty living room, stare at the contact on my phone that said my son, and hover my finger over the delete button, but I could never push it. It's stupid, I used to tell myself. He's gone. What are you holding on to? I didn't know the answer. I only knew that deleting that contact felt like killing him a second time. So I kept it. I kept his room locked. I kept myself half alive. Until the night my phone rang, and my past came crashing back like a storm. Lucas, I whispered into the phone. Yes, the boy replied. They said I shouldn't talk to strangers, but I found his phone and your name was saved as Dad, and I just... He started crying. Every part of me wanted to jump through the phone and hold him. It's okay, I said, trying to steady my voice. It's okay, son. I'm here. I've always been here. Where are you? I asked. Can you tell me anything? Any sign, any name? I don't know, he said, sniffing. We live in a big house. There's a gate with numbers on it. I go to school where everyone has drivers, and they say I'm adopted, but they never tell me anything about my real parents. They just say you didn't want me. My heart squeezed in pain. I wanted you more than anything in the world, I said. Who told you that? Mom, he replied. I froze. You're your adoptive mom? I asked carefully. Yes. She says my real mom gave me away, and my real dad didn't even come to see me. I closed my eyes. The room started spinning again. Lucas, listen. I said slowly. I was there when you were born. I held you. I never left you. They told me you died. There was silence on the line. Then I heard him whisper. They said the same thing about you. My blood ran cold. Lucas, is there anything in your room? Any papers, photos, anything that doesn't make sense? He hesitated. There's a box I'm not supposed to open, he said. They keep it in Mom's closet. I saw my name on it once. My heart started pounding again. Lucas, I need you to do something, I said. When nobody is watching, look inside that box and call me back. Can you do that? Yes, he said softly, but I'm scared. I know, I said. I'm scared too, but I promise you something, okay? I took a deep breath. I promise I will find you. I don't know how yet, but I will find you. You are my son, and I never gave you away. Okay, he whispered. I have to go. They're coming. Wait. Lucas, don't hang up. Just tell me. The line went dead. I stared at the phone for a long time after that. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. Was this real? Was someone playing a cruel joke on me? How did this boy know my name? My son's name? My contact? I could have assumed it was a scam, a prank, a sick game. But deep inside, I knew, a father knows. That voice was my son, and I was going to prove it. The next day, I didn't go to work. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just sat at my kitchen table, staring at my phone, waiting for it to ring again, but it didn't. So I did what I should have done 10 years ago. I started asking questions. First stop, the hospital where Lucas had died. Walking into that building again was like walking into a nightmare. Same smell, same cold walls, same elevator sounds. I went to the record department. "Hi," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "My name is Daniel Hayes. My son, Lucas Hayes, was born and passed away here 10 years ago. I need to see the records." The woman behind the counter typed on her computer, then frowned. "There's no record of a Lucas Hayes dying here," she said. My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "We had a funeral. I signed papers. There was a death certificate." She checked again. "Lucas Hayes, born here, yes. Complications?" "Yes." "Admitted to ICU?" "Yes." "But after that, the record says transferred." "Transferred." I repeated. "To where?" Her face tightened. "I'm sorry, sir. That information is marked as confidential." Anger started to rise in my chest. "Confidential? He is my son." She hesitated, looked around, then leaned closer. "There's a note here that your parental rights were terminated." My legs almost gave out. "What did you just say?" "It says here," she whispered, "that the parents, meaning you and the mother, signed papers giving up rights. The child was transferred for private care." "That's a lie," I said. My voice was shaking. "I never signed any paper like that. They told me he died." She swallowed hard. I could lose my job for this, but she clicked a few more times and then printed something, slipping it to me over the counter. It was a scanned copy of a document. At the bottom, in shaky black ink, was my name, my signature, or at least a very good copy of it. My hands trembled. "I didn't sign this," I said. "This isn't... it looks like mine, but I didn't sign this." The woman looked sympathetic. "Sometimes wealthy families arrange private adoptions, especially when there are complications." My eyes narrowed. "Wealthy families?" She nodded slightly. "There's a name here. The sponsor who paid for everything. A Robert Kingsley." I almost dropped the paper. Robert Kingsley. My ex-father-in-law. Emily's father. The man who told me, "We can fix this." My cheeks started burning. My hands curled into fists. He knew. He knew all these years. He had stolen my son from me. He had buried a lie and signed my name to it. And Emily, did she know too? The thought that my wife, the woman who cried with me, who held my hand in the dark, might have been part of this, that burned more than anything. 2 nights later, I finally got the second call. I was sitting in Lucas's old room, which had remained untouched for a decade. The phone lit up. Same number. My heart jumped. "Lucas?" I answered quickly. "Dad." His voice was shaking. I opened the box. My breath caught. "What did you find?" I found a bracelet. It has my name and a date. And there's a hospital picture of a baby. Mom was younger. You were there too. I saw you." My eyes filled with tears. "Lucas, listen," I said. "That bracelet is yours. That baby is you. They lied to you about me. They lied to me about you." There was a long silence. Then he quietly asked, "Why would they do that?" That was the question burning in my own mind. "Lucas, do you know your last name?" I asked. "Kingsley," he said. "Lucas Kingsley." Every muscle in my body tensed. "Robert, did you live with a man named Robert?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "He's Grandpa, Mom's dad." My heart broke and burned at the same time. "Emily, Lucas," I said gently, "what did they tell you about your real dad?" "That he left," he said. "That he didn't want a sick baby. That he told them to get rid of me." I felt real physical pain at those words. "That's not true," I said, my voice trembling. "I was at the hospital every second. I held you. I never abandoned you. They forged my signature and took you away from me. He sniffed again. I believe you, he whispered. You sound like you're telling the truth. You sound angry, like me. I closed my eyes. Angry wasn't even the word. It was deeper, darker. Listen, Lucas. I said, I need you to do something very important, okay? Okay. I need you to keep this a secret for now. Don't tell them you call me again. Don't tell them you open the box. Just act normal. But whenever you can, take pictures of the documents, the bracelet, anything with names, dates, or signatures. Can you send them to me? I don't know how, he said. They control everything. My phone is old. It only calls. Of course. Robert wasn't stupid. Then just remember what you can, I said. Numbers, names, anything. And when you can, call me. I will not stop until I bring you home. You understand? Yes, he said. Then after a pause, Dad? Yeah. Is it wrong that I don't feel safe here? The question cut through me like a knife. No, I said, it's not wrong. You should feel safe with your family. And trust me, I'm going to make sure you do. At that exact moment, I heard a voice in the background on his side. A woman's voice. Lucas, who are you talking to? My blood ran cold. Just a game, he said quickly. I'm coming. Lucas, hang up now, I whispered. Don't get in trouble. Call me when you can. Okay, Dad. The line went dead again. I sat there in the dark, my fists clenched, my teeth grinding. Now I knew for sure. Emily was alive, living in luxury with her wealthy father. While I spent 10 years grieving over a son, they hid from me. This wasn't just a lie. This was betrayal. And I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I wanted to storm their mansion, break down the door, and drag my son out with my own hands. But I knew that would only hurt him more. Robert was powerful. Money, lawyers, judges. He could spin the story any way he wanted. Crazy ex-son-in-law Harris's family claims their adopted child is his. No, if I wanted justice, I needed proof. I needed to be smart. So I started planning. First, I found an old friend, Mark, a former private investigator, who owed me a favor. When I told him the story, he stared at me like I was insane. Then I showed him the hospital record, the forged signature, the name Robert Kingsley. His face changed. This is big, he said. If this is true, your ex-father-in-law is in deep trouble. Illegal adoption, forged documents, parental rights violations. This could destroy his career. Good, I replied. I wanted to. We started with surveillance. Mark tracked down Robert's house. It wasn't hard. The Kingsley name was all over town. A huge gate, security cameras, private guards, rich people's idea of safety. From a distance, with a long lens, Mark took photos. In one of them, there he was, a boy with dark hair, running in the yard. I zoomed in on the screen. My heart almost stopped. He looked like me. Same eyes, same hair, same way of holding his shoulders. That's him, I said. My voice cracked. That's my son. We also gathered information about the school he went to, what time he left, what time he came back, who picked him up. A few days later, Mark came to me with a file. So, he said, dropping it on my table, you were right. 10 years ago, your ex-father-in-law used his connections to transfer a newborn from the hospital under private care for a critical condition. Officially, the baby died under private supervision. Unofficially, he opened a photo, a baby certificate. Name, Lucas Kingsley. Date of birth, the same as my son. My blood boiled. He renamed my son. I growled. Mark nodded. He made it look like the baby never belonged to you. The forged paper said the real father abandoned the child. I clenched my fist so hard, my knuckles turned white. He destroyed my marriage. He stole my son. He let me bury an empty coffin while he raised my child as his heir. Mark leaned back. What do you want to do? I took a deep breath. I want the truth to come out. Publicly. I want his empire to shake. I want my son to know who I really am. And I want everyone to see what kind of man Robert Kingsley really is. Mark smiled slightly. Then we record everything. We get him to talk. We make him expose himself. And Emily? I asked quietly if she was part of it. He looked at me for a long time. That's a wound you'll have to face, he said. But first, let's save the kid. We knew we couldn't just walk up to the gate and ask to see Lucas. So we waited. One afternoon, Mark called me. They're at the park, he said. Lucas, the grandfather, and your ex-wife. You should come. My heart pounded as I drove there. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel. When I arrived, I saw them from a distance. Emily was sitting on a bench, talking on her phone. She looked older, but still the same woman I had once loved. Robert stood near the car, stern, controlling, like always. And a few meters away, Lucas, kicking a ball alone. I walked slowly toward him, my breath getting shorter with every step. When I was close enough, the ball rolled toward me. I stopped it with my foot. He looked up. Our eyes met. It was like looking into a mirror of my own childhood. Nice shot, I said softly. He smiled shyly. Thanks. For a moment, it was just the two of us, father and son standing in the sunlight, not knowing how many lives were between us. You play here often? I asked. Sometimes, he said. When Grandpa has time. I swallowed hard. Lucas, I said quietly, do you recognize my voice? He froze. Then his eyes widened. Dad, he whispered. I nodded slowly. He looked scared and excited at the same time. What are you doing here? I told you, I said, my voice breaking. I would find you. Before he could answer, a sharp voice cut through the air. Lucas, get away from him. Emily. She stormed toward us, eyes full of panic. What do you think you're doing? She hissed at me. You have no right to be here. Lucas looked between us, confused. Mom, who is he? Emily grabbed his arm. He's nobody, she said. He's just... I'm your father, I said, louder now. People around us started to look. Emily's face went pale. Daniel, stop. You'll scare him. Scare him? I snapped. You let me bury an empty coffin, and you're worried about scaring him? Rob arrived now, his expression cold and dangerous. Mr. Hayes, he said, I suggest you leave. Now. Mark, watching from a distance, subtly raised his phone. He was recording. I'm not going anywhere. I said, you stole my son. You forged my signature. You let me think he was dead. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Daniel, please, not here. Why not here? I shouted. Why not in front of the world? Didn't you say I abandoned him, Emily? Didn't you tell him I didn't want him? Lucas stared at her. Mom, is that true? She couldn't look at him. Robert stepped between us. Security, he called out. 2 guards started walking toward us. But I wasn't afraid, because everything was being recorded. Every word, every reaction. I went to the hospital. I said loudly. I saw the forged documents. The transfer. The private care. Your name was on it, Robert. He smirked. You have no proof those documents are real. Actually, Mark finally walked closer, still filming. We have copies and backups, and a very curious reporter waiting to hear the story. Robert's confidence faltered for a second, just a second, but I saw it. Lucas, I said, turning back to my son, when you were born, I held you in my arms. I never left you. They told me you died. They lied to me and they lied to you. I need you to know that. Tears filled his eyes. He looked at Emily. Mom, is he telling the truth? Emily broke. Her shoulders started shaking. I didn't want to lose you, she whispered. Dad said Daniel was useless. He said you'd have a better life with them. He said it was the only way. So you let him think I was dead? Lucas cried. You let him cry for me for 10 years. Her face crumpled. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I was weak. I was scared. I believed my father. I thought you'd hate us less if you never knew. I felt anger and pity all at once. You didn't just hurt me, I said quietly. You hurt him. You broke something inside both of us. Robert finally raised his voice. This conversation is over, he said. Guards, escort this man off the property. And if you ever come near my family again, I will bury you in court. I smiled slightly. Funny choice of words, I said, because this time I'll be the one burying you. Not in a grave, but in the truth. The next days were a storm. Mark sent the recordings and documents to a journalist he trusted. We also went to a lawyer who specialized in family and criminal law. At first, the lawyer was skeptical. Then he saw the evidence, the hospital record, the forged signature, the private transfer to your ex-father-in-law's foundation. This is serious, he said. If this goes public, he's finished. Good, I replied. I don't just want my son back. I want everyone to see what he did. We filed a case. Illegal adoption, forgery, emotional damage. When the news broke, it spread fast. Wealthy businessman accused of stealing grandson from son-in-law. Fake death and secret adoption scandal shocks community. Robert tried to control the story. Of course. He's lying, he said on TV. The boy was abandoned. We rescued him. But then the journalist played the recording, the part where he threatened me, the part where Emily cried and admitted the truth. Public opinion turned against him overnight. Emily's life also exploded. Friends stopped calling. People whispered behind her back. Lucas became the center of all of it. Paparazzi tried to take pictures of him. News vans parked outside the mansion. It hurt to see him in the middle of that. But I reminded myself, this wasn't my doing. This was the result of their lies. In court, Robert's lawyers tried everything. Mr. Hayes was an unfit father. He was financially unstable. He suffered from depression. The judge looked at me. Do you have anything to say? I stood up. Yes, I said. I was sad. I was destroyed. Because I thought my son died. While they raised him behind my back, they pointed at my sadness and called it weakness. I looked at Robert and Emily. You didn't just take my son from me, I said. You took me from my son. You told him I was a monster who walked away. You let him live in a beautiful prison made of lies. Emily was crying again. Robert stared straight ahead, jaw tight. The judge looked at Lucas, who now sat with a court-appointed counselor. Lucas, the judge said gently, do you want to say anything? My heart almost stopped. Lucas stood up slowly. His legs were shaking. I don't understand everything, he said. But I know this. He pointed at me, never lied to me on the phone. He never shouted at me. He never told me not to ask questions. He just promised he would find me. And he did. He turned to Emily. And you told me he ran away. You told me my real dad didn't care. But you were the one who left him. Emily covered her face. Lucas looked at the judge. I want to know my real dad, he said. I want to spend time with him. I don't know what full custody means, but I know I don't want to live in a house where I'm afraid to ask the truth. The courtroom went silent. That single sentence cut deeper than any lawyer's argument. The final verdict didn't come all at once. It took weeks of hearings, reviews, interviews. In the end, Robert was charged with multiple crimes. Forgery, illegal transfer of a minor, obstruction. His wealth couldn't save him from the truth. He lost his position, his reputation, his freedom. Emily, her case was more complicated. She was manipulated, pressured, controlled by her father. But she also made choices. The court ruled that she had limited visitation, under supervision, until Lucas was older and ready to decide for himself. As for me, I didn't get a perfect fairy tale ending. Life doesn't work that way. But I got something real. I got a chance. The judge ordered shared custody, slowly increasing my time with Lucas as he adjusted. The first weekend he came to stay with me, I stood in the doorway of his old room, now finally open again. I had changed the baby crib into a proper bed. There was a desk, some books, some games. I was nervous. What if he hates it? What if he hates me? I thought. Then he walked in. He looked around carefully. What do you think? I asked. He smiled. It feels like it was always waiting for me, he said. I swallowed the lump in my throat. That night, we sat on the couch, eating simple homemade pasta and watching a movie. At one point, he looked at me suddenly. Dad, yes. Did you really visit my grave? I nodded slowly. Every year, I said. On your birthday, I talked to you. I told you about my life. I promised I'd never forget you. He looked down at his hands. Sorry you had to do that, he whispered. I moved closer. Hey, I said gently. None of this was your fault. You're the only innocent person in this whole story. He leaned against me. It was awkward at first, like we were both learning how to be father and son again. But then it felt natural, right? Like something that had been broken was slowly, carefully being put back together. Sometimes people think betrayal only hurts the person you betray. They think it's simple, one lie, one victim. But I learned something very different. My ex-father-in-law thought he was fixing his daughter's life. He thought money could buy a new story, a cleaner story. He signed papers, twisted truth, and told himself it was for the best. Emily told herself she was protecting our son, that with her father's money, he'd have a better education, a safer life, more comfort. Maybe he did, in some ways. Big house, fancy school, private drivers. But they forgot something important. You can give a child a world, but if you build that world on lies, it will crack one day. Betrayal doesn't just steal the truth. It steals peace. It steals trust. It steals years that you can never get back. 10 years of my life were buried under a fake funeral. 10 years of my son's life were spent believing his father abandoned him. No money can repair that. No apology can fully erase it. But revenge for me wasn't about hurting them physically or shouting in their faces. Real revenge was this: letting the truth come out, letting their perfect image fall apart in front of everyone, letting them feel the same fear, the same shame, the same helplessness they forced on me. And justice? Justice was getting my son back. Slowly, carefully, not to erase the trauma, but to build something honest from now on. If you're listening to this and you've been betrayed, I want you to remember something. You don't win by becoming like them. You don't win by lying, by hiding, by destroying yourself for their mistakes. You win by standing in the light, by letting the truth breathe, by healing, even when it hurts to look at the scars. My son was buried 10 years ago. At least, that's what I thought. But the real burial happened in that hospital office, when they buried the truth. Last month, when that phone rang, it wasn't just a call from my son. It was a call from my past. A call from the truth I had been denied. And I answered it. I faced the lies. I faced the people who hurt me. I faced myself. And in the end, I didn't just get revenge. I got my son. I got my voice. I got my life back. No matter how deep they bury the truth, one day it will ring. And when it does, pick up. Don't be afraid to listen. Because that might be the moment your whole life finally changes.